Everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had an amazing week. For those of you who tune in every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, welcome back and thanks so much for joining here. For those of you who are brand new to Mental Health Moment, welcome, welcome. We're here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. And for those of you who are tuning into the replay on Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube, thanks so much for joining. And again, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. So let me know in the chat where you are tuning in from today. I am in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, and where I reside the majority of the time if I'm not somewhere else on the planet in the world. But nonetheless, again, hope that you are well. For those of you who are new, Mental Health Moment is about how do you become the best version of yourself so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for those around you. So that's what Mental Health Moment is all about. And thanks again for those who are starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your Mental Health Moment. Sorry for the late start today. Trying to do 500 things at once, it seems like today. So yes, and then dealing with some technical things, but it's all good. We are here, and typically, yes, we start at 8 p.m. on the dot Eastern Standard Time, but a little bit later today. But thanks again so much for those who are joining. And I wanted to give a special shout out for those of you who I see week after week after week, always tuning in. I'm super proud of you that you are on your wellness journey, doing what you need to do, implementing the strategies that you need in your life, again, to become a better version of who you are. So thank you for that. And I'm excited for you all. And good evening from Boston. Welcome, welcome. I'm excited for each and every one of you who are on this journey, because at the end of the day, when you take the time to work on yourself, to work on growing emotionally and mentally and spiritually and physically and all the different areas of your life, it really does have a great impact on you and those around you. So, all right, we're going to get started. Thanks again for those who are joining here. Let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from today. Hopefully I see sometimes my comments want to come in, sometimes they don't. So hopefully they will show up today. But nonetheless, so today on Mental Health Moment, what I wanted to share with you briefly are 5 ways that you can think about how do you boost your mood. And the reason why that's important is because every single one of us at some point, maybe we get into a funk, maybe we get into I don't feel like doing something today. Maybe you notice, if you're really paying attention to your body, well, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, maybe you notice that things are sort of off. So I wanted to share with you a couple of things. And hi from San Francisco, welcome back. I wanted to share with you a couple of things that you can think about to boost your mood. Now, I do want to put a disclaimer on this. This is not a cure for depression. There's different levels of sadness. There's clinical depression. There's just having an off day, having a sad day. There's a continuum there's a spectrum when it comes to depression. So it's really, really important. I want to say this before I start today's mental health moment. It's really, really important if you are at the point where you're like, man, I am really, really sad. I really can't function. I really think I need some professional help, to make sure that you reach out to a mental health professional. Or again, there's different levels of depression, reaching out to a friend, a family member, a trusted colleague, or whomever it may be, so that you can get the support you need. So I wanted to make that, big asterisk on today's mental health moment before I share with you some ways to boost your mood, but not cure depression. I don't have that information yet. We're not quite there yet as far as a cure per se, but there's a lot of things that you can do to improve. And hi from Virginia. Welcome, welcome. Richardson. I say CA. Okay, I think you meant California. I think California's in the house, so welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment for those of you tuning in. All right, so 5 things today. So the first thing for you to think about, which no one ever wants to think about, but as a reminder to you, is how important movement is when it comes to boosting your mood. So I don't know about you. Everyone loves a different form of movement. Again, movement comes in different ways depending on what you're able to do physically, what you want to do physically, what you enjoy doing, all these factors come into play, right? So I love movement now at this stage of my life, I spend a lot of time with physical exercise because I know that number one, not only do I need it physically, but mentally as well. There's so many studies I can go on and on about how the connection works with exercise, and a lot of you may experience that as well, like just feeling better after you exercise in some way. So that's tip number one today is to really be thinking about and assessing like where are you at with your movement, like physically movement and your body again in the way that you're able to and in the way that you like to and you enjoy. Right. So maybe you don't love running or maybe you don't love swimming, but you like walking or you like I don't know, playing. I think pickleball now is like super popular, you all. I need to start. I really want to start playing. I might try it here in the next couple months on a trip I'm going on. But I've heard it's so fun. I don't know how many of you love pickleball. You can let me know in the chat if you do. But I know a lot of people that actually do. But that's still a form of movement, right? So if it's pickleball or whatever it is that you like to play, if it's a sport, or again, if it's walking around the block, or if it's walking around a lake or river or wherever you're close to, all those sorts of things count. But that's tip number one, the reminder for you today to make sure that you're getting your movement in some way. Maybe some of you like to ride a bike, whatever it is, getting your movement in to make sure your body is staying as healthy as it can. To make sure, I mean, to help your blood flow, and also it helps you mentally. For a lot of people, not only can it help boost your mood, but for some people, they've even said like they feel clear in their thoughts, right? Like less confused. They feel more energy, right? More clarity and their thinking, which is a beautiful benefit, of course. And again, I mean, I can go on with the research, but there's a lot of really great research on how beneficial this can be mentally for you too, along with physically. So that's tip number one. And thanks for those who are still starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Today, we're talking about 5 ways to boost your mood. I don't know, I feel like before you know it, it'll be like the middle of the year. I don't know, this year's been going by really fast for some reason. But here we are, we're moving along in this year here and just thinking about, man, when you get into those times where you're like, man, I really want to try to boost my mood up some, like, what are some things that you can do? Hi from New York. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. So tip number one for those of you just joining was exercise, was movement. How do you move your body? How do you stay active, which affects you mentally in a positive way, of course. And number two is thinking about how do you put gratitude into place. There are so many different ways to do this, you all, but it's so critically important. There's, again, studies on this too, but the way that you show your gratitude, the way that you express being thankful for whatever it is that you have, all of us, again, can express gratitude in different ways. For some of you, you're, jotting it down in a journal, because you've told me before. And hi from Arkansas, welcome, welcome. You're writing it down, or you're on a gratitude app, or you're telling someone thank you, or you're sending them that text message or email, or however it is that you communicate with people, right? You're expressing it and also feeling it inside too. So feeling what you are grateful for. Is it your friends, your family, your health, your life? Hopefully, like your physical abilities, emotional, spiritual talents, whatever it is that you have that's even unique to you, being grateful for those things. I really strongly believe, you all, that every single one of us have gifts, right? We don't have the same gifts. But we all have gifts. Physically, we have gifts. Emotionally, we have gifts. Spiritually, mentally. Last week, if you missed it on Mental Health Moment, we kind of went through an inventory. I was asking you guys to rate yourself in different areas. And that's because I truly believe that every single one of us have gifts. So hopefully, I hope that you're grateful, not just for material things. And that's a whole nother mental health moment. It's okay if you are grateful for material things. You're allowed to be. It doesn't mean you're this horrible person. Be grateful for whatever blessings you have in your life, but also be grateful for your unique gifts that you were given, whatever it is that looks like. There is not a right or wrong. I just strongly believe that we all have our gifts, right? So be grateful for those things. And hi from St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Today, we're talking about 5 ways that you can boost your mood. So the first one was exercise, which is a huge reminder because I know some of you are like, yeah, I know that, but, and it's all good, but what do you need to tweak? Like, how do you add in more movement? How do you do things that you enjoy? Is it yoga? Is it running? Is it walking? Is it swimming? Is it biking? Is it something else? Pickleball? We talked about whatever it is. The second thing for you to think about is gratitude, making sure you have a gratitude practice where you are sharing, where you're expressing your gratitude to others who've done amazing, great things for you, right? And also expressing gratitude for yourself for whatever blessings you have. It can be material things, it can be your own gifts, right? That you have. And when I say gifts, I don't mean material things, but I mean like whatever it is that you have. If you're funny, if you're smart, if you have the ability to write, if you have the ability to read well, if you have the ability to help people, whatever it is that your gifts are, if you're creative, if you're generous to others, whatever those things are that usually people tell you, the good things that people tell you, make sure that you're expressing your gratitude to yourself for those things as well. Hi from Detroit. Welcome, welcome, and thanks so much for joining here. SoCal's in the house. Welcome, welcome back. So the third thing that's really, really important for boosting your mood is thinking about how are you connecting with other people. So this could be a whole mental health moment. I'm pretty sure we did one at some point in the past on this, but connecting with others is really, really critically important. So back in May of 2023, the US Surgeon General, you guys may have heard about this, but he declared a loneliness epidemic in the US because of how profound the loneliness was having an impact on people in our country, sadly. Like in a negative way, like the loneliness, especially after COVID. I mean, we were all locked up, right, in our wherever we lived, and we weren't often seeing people in person. At least we were away from family and friends and acquaintances and all those sorts of things. So that took a toll, and also it can really, really have a negative impact physically on you as well when you isolate yourself too much. And I'm not talking about just having like the me time, having a little bit of time for yourself, not talking about that, but like really isolating, like not having contact with others, even if it's virtually. So because of that, I share that with you to remind you how critically important it is to make sure you're connecting with others, whomever it is for you. You can think about right now that is supportive of you. So not the people that are toxic in your life, you know who they are, right? It may be a coworker, maybe a friend, maybe a family member, and maybe a colleague, whomever it is, the person that is not helping you with your mental health and wellness, not those people, but the people that you can think about though, who are supportive of you on your journey. So your friends or your family or your colleagues or whomever it is that you have, maybe right now you're like, I don't have a lot of positive people around me, but my faith gets me through, right? So you're never alone. Whomever it is for you, making sure that you're connecting with, if it's a higher power, if it's a person, whomever it is, but making sure you're making those connections are really, really important when you think about how do you boost your mood. Hi from Connecticut. Welcome. Hi, welcome, welcome. And North Carolina's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. So that's the third thing for you to think about today is how do you connect with others? Really critically important because that can be a huge mood booster. Again, the positive people, the supportive people in your life. Okay, so number 4. So we're almost done, you guys. We have 5 today. So number 4 is thinking about, this is one of my favorite ones to think about how do you boost your mood, is to get outside. There's so many benefits of getting outside in some way. So we all live in different climates. I live in Florida. So yes, it depends on, I've met some people that are like, Florida, like you have alligators and you have hurricanes and it's too hot and it's too humid. So to me, I love it because I live here. So I'm a little biased, but I get it. Like for some people, it's like, oh my gosh, it's way too hot there. So whether you're in a really hot climate like Florida, yes, it's humid and very muggy during the summer, but a lot of days we have sunshine. So we have no excuse to not get out in some way because we typically always have, most days, some sort of sunshine, right? So whether you're in a climate with a lot of sunshine or not, maybe you're right now in snow. or wherever type of climate that you're in, it's just really important for you to think about how do you get outside? How do you spend time in nature? How do you get to a beach, or how do you get to a lake or a river or a mountain, or if walking through a park? Like, how do you get to those spaces, and make sure you get in those spaces to try to elevate your mood, to try to feel better. I know that, and thanks so much for joining here. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I know that when I've traveled to so many different, like a gazillion different places, but even in different climates, aside from Florida, being in nature and just walking around. Sometimes it's been parks. Sometimes it's been all that I named before: rivers or lakes or mountains or beaches or wherever it's been. And in a lot of different climates, sometimes it's a little chilly, a little cold for me. My little Florida blood has like a jacket on or whatever. People are probably laughing at me because I get cold very easily. But nonetheless, the most important part was through all those different climates and all those different experiences in connecting with nature and being outside. Oftentimes, personally, I can definitely share with you, I found like it to be very uplifting, right? To elevate our mood. So again, we're talking today about how do you try to uplift yourself? How do you elevate your own mood? And there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm only listing five today. There's like a gazillion ways, but I'm listing five for you today. And things that you can think about starting to implement in your life as well. And then the fifth one, the final one, is really important. Also, all of these are important today, but this is like critically important. Number five, because if you start to make this a part of your practice and make this a part of your routine, you can start to really think about resetting your mood, retraining your brain, thinking about how do you improve your day to day, even. And so, the number five tip for today is to practice mindfulness. What does that mean in a nutshell? It's a whole mental health moment, but in a nutshell, briefly, I'll tell you mindfulness is when you think about how do you get into the present moment? How do you work on resetting and recharging your brain? Because we are overwhelmed with information, you all. Um, does anyone not feel overwhelmed with information, right? Like, we are inundated with social media, with traditional media, with what's going on with our family and our friends and ourselves. And this happened today, and this could happen tomorrow, and this happened yesterday. Like, we're overwhelmed. Um, but when you take a moment, when you take a minute, as I like to share, with practicing mindfulness, and like there's a lot of different ways to practice mindfulness, but in each part of your day, and really stop and think and be in that present moment, it gives you a chance to reset, to recharge yourself, to think about your mood, to think about how you're doing, and start to improve the rest of your day. Hi from Dallas. Welcome, welcome. Um, thanks so much for joining here. So that's the fifth tip for you to think about. How do you practice mindfulness? And there's a lot of ways to do it. For me, I take a lot of mindfulness time now because I've trained myself to do that like all throughout the day. But in the beginning, if you're just starting out, and you're like, man, I don't live in the present moment, because I definitely used to be like that, where I was constantly like thinking about the future or my to-do list or what else I have to do, which I still have those days sometimes, but oftentimes, pretty much on a daily basis, I try my best to get into a mindful moments, I should say. So sometimes that looks like brushing my teeth. Like, if you think about every single step, because a lot of us don't, we're thinking about something else in our day. That's an example of a mindfulness moment. If you're washing the dishes and you think about the soap and you think about what you're actually doing, that's a mindfulness moment. If you're in the car driving, if you drive, and you think about where you're actually going and really pay attention to the driving process, which most of us don't because we're thinking about something else, all right? That's a mindfulness moment. So there's a lot of ways you can even incorporate in your day. I also do, as I told you all at the beginning of the year, a lot of meditation this year, purposely just adding in a ton of guided meditation, which is, of course, a mindfulness practice to be in that present moment and just focus on that person's voice and that sort of thing. But that's just a couple of different ways. There's a lot of ways to do it. You have to do what makes sense for you. And hi, thanks for joining here. But the reason why I share with you the easiest way to start when it comes for mindfulness is to do things that you're already currently doing. Right? So if you're brushing your teeth in the morning, or you're washing your face, or you're washing dishes, or taking a shower, or whatever it is that you're already doing, right? So you're not like adding in an extra 30 minutes of meditation. Not that you don't, if you really want to and have the time, please do that. But if you're trying to start at the beginning, those things that you're already doing, just consciously work on each day, reminding yourself to stay in the present moment. And you might be like, I can't do that, for 10 minutes, but you might be able to do it for a minute. So you start there, right? Like you might be able to pay attention. You brush your teeth. It doesn't take, well, hopefully, it doesn't take you 20 minutes to brush your teeth, right? So that small amount of time that takes, you work on it that way, and you'll build your way up. Like that's just how mindfulness works. You end up building your way up. So now for me, I am constantly moving into the present moment. If I'm drinking a cup of tea, if I'm like, I mean, just there's so many circumstances that I'm like, okay, try to be in the present moment. And it's not 100% of the time, of course. We're human. We do have to think about the future. We do have to think about our to-do list. We might be stuck on, something that happened yesterday. That's completely normal, but it's really, really important also for you to work on resetting, recharging, putting in the mindfulness practices so that you can work on elevating your mood. Um, and good evening from Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Okay, so as I wrap up, today we went over 5 ways to think about boosting your mood, things that you can implement, things you can start right today, different things you can start today, or some of these things you might already be doing, but you can always tweak and you can always improve, right? So if I think about 5 to 10 years ago, like my my mindfulness practices, my self-care practices were definitely not what they were today at all. So yay, progress, but I would never say like, okay, well, I'm done. No, like there's always room for us to be improving. So it's like, okay, what little thing maybe can I tweak this year, or what thing am I going to be tweaking in 6 months from now, right? So some of these things for you all are not new things, but they're just things for you to be thinking about and making some subtle changes, or maybe major changes, for you to continue to have the progress and the results that you want. Okay, so as I wrap up here, I want to remind you all, on May 24th and 25th in Philadelphia, it's on the screen here, you can register to the Get to Worthy Summit. I am super excited to be speaking there this year. I know it's going to be phenomenal. It's a mental health and wellness summit. How do you, again, I always talk about how to become the better version of yourself, right? The best version of yourself. And there's so many great speakers that are going to be there, panelists, speakers, activities. Like it's going to be amazing. So if you all are in the area already, or you're going to be in the area, you can use my promo code Hammond10 to register. But I'll definitely be there. Excited about that. Hope to see you all there. If you do come, make sure that at the end, definitely say hello and let me know that you're there. And yes, and there'll be some other events this year. The ones that are public events that I can invite you all to, I'll definitely put it on the screen this year. There's some private ones too that I can't invite anyone because it's a private event, obviously, but the public ones, I'll definitely put it on the screen for you all. So that's about it. I hope that you will have an amazing week coming up here. Try to implement some of these things for you if you're ever at a point where you're like, man, I just need to elevate my mood some, which is normal. Yes, that's okay to have those days. If you need me before next Tuesday, you can go to drnikishahammond.com or connect with me on Instagram, Dr.Hammond, Facebook, Dr. Nikisha Hammond, LinkedIn, Dr. Nikisha Hammond, or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, X, Dr._Hammond. So that is about it for today's mental health moment. Thanks so much for tuning in here. I will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Have an amazing week. And I'll see you all next week. Bye, you guys, and good night.